Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. Hit that sub button if you're new. We're here to give you great NFL content. Please tune in.
But Richard, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Jets. You touched on it briefly earlier. They go out, they fire Robert Saleh. They think that's going to be the solve. Now they're 0-3 without him. Then they say, hey, all right, we're still losing. We got to go get Aaron Rodgers' guy because he can't hit Mike Williams over the middle. So we're going to trade for Davante Adams. That doesn't work either. Now they're 2-6. They lose to the Patriots. What's the latest excuse with this team? This just doesn't look like it's going to end well with the Jets this season.
No, it's not going to end well. You know what's not going to end well? Because you took out their leader 5 games into the season. It doesn't always start how you want it to. And then we talked about all the teams that don't start well. The Cincinnati Bengals have not started well historically. I mean, it's almost like what you expect from them. You all expect to run mid-season from them. The San Francisco 49ers have had seasons where they started off 3-4 and 2-4, and then going on to the NFC Championship games and lost or won or made it to Super Bowls, et cetera, et cetera. But Woody Johnson made a knee-jerk decision which injected chaos into a team. And again, I cannot stress and I cannot emphasize enough how dysfunctional it is in an environment becomes when you take the head coach out of the equation. You all of a sudden change the roles, change the responsibilities of so many people in the building without enough time for them to fully digest and fully embrace or brace themselves for those positions. Brick is a good DC. His defense has been really good, but that's what he was prepared to do this year. He's prepared to call the defense. He had a routine, a regimen. He knows when he's getting his film, he's breaking it down. He knows the things he has to worry about, the things he's responsible for, the things he doesn't need to think about and worry about on game day. And then 5 games into the season, you turn his world upside down. Now you put more on his plate. You put more decisions, more things to think about, more conversations. And it's tough. It's tough on anybody. And he didn't deserve to be put in such a tough position where a team and a defense is already kind of reeling, and you're almost kicking them while they're down. You're almost poisoning your own drink. You're poisoning your own well water. You're poisoning your own citizens. In a way, Metro, when you start to do things like Woody Johnson did. If he would have left Robert Saleh, maybe they still lose 3 games, but they would have a better chance to win. They would have more stability. They would have more consistency. Like you make it harder for a defensive coordinator to prepare each week when he has head coaching duties. But I put this on Woody Johnson. Obviously, Aaron hasn't played as well as he would want to play. The defense has been playing a lot worse over the last few games. You expect them to win this game against the New England Patriots, but there's no guarantees in this league. And again, this is the divisional game that it's always going to be a dogfight. They just couldn't get it done defensively and offensively. They just can't find themselves. They can't find their identity. A-Rod can't find his rhythm. And there are rumors out there that he's going to be done after this season, and maybe he will, because it's not looking like there's so many uncharacteristic things happening in these games where you've watched him play for such a long time that he's never done. He's throwing multiple interceptions in multiple games, missing wide open guys. You see flashes of the things that you're used to seeing, which is very, very quick arm, great release, pinpoint passes. But then you're seeing it off. He's not moving like he used to. This offensive line isn't playing as well as they have in the past. And we have them next week on Thursday Night Football against the Houston Texans, who are playing as good as anybody. And I'm just not sure. Maybe they can pull that one off. Maybe they find magic and they can capture lightning in a bottle. They have the playmakers on offense to be able to strike quick and really get up to speed quickly. But it just seems like maybe the decision Woody Johnson made was the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of this culture, and it's toxic.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. But like you said, we'll see on Thursday Night Football. That's a huge game for them. They need to right this ship quick. another loss. It's going to be very tough to turn this season around. Let's go to Detroit because Richard, this Vegas did not expect a close game. I think the closing line finished at the Detroit, minus 12.5 points. No one expected this to be a game, but it was in the beginning. In the first quarter, 14-14. You saw Mason Rudolph slinging the ball all over. Calvin Ridley had over 100 yards in the first quarter of this game. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is a trap game for Detroit. And no, not so much. The Detroit rattles off 38 consecutive points in this when they were getting everyone involved. And Ben Johnson was creative. We saw a throw from David Montgomery on a halfback toss. He pulls up and heaves the ball to Sam Laporta on National Tight End Day. Richard, what's going to stop this Detroit Lion team? I know I'm biased, but objectively speaking, when I look at this team, I see Kansas City. They've got the X factor in Patrick Mahomes. I mean, doesn't matter how much you prepare for that team. They have Patrick Mahomes. But this Detroit Lions team, top to bottom, looks like the best team in the NFL to me right now, at least offensively. Am I off base there? Like, what are your thoughts about this team? What's it going to take to break them?
Well, it's just that defense, and that defense has been playing well, but there have been games where they have been shootouts because that defense gives up some points. It gets leaky. You're talking about losing Aiden Hutchinson and everything that he brought, the sacks, the pressures, the attention, the double teams and things like that. That's where we're going to have to figure it out, especially when they play more competitive teams. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans are 1-6. But they're still an NFL team, and 1-6 teams can still win ball games, as the New England Patriots and the Cleveland Browns showed us this week. But give Jared Goff a ton of credit, give Ben Johnson a ton of credit, and obviously Dan Campbell for the culture he's created. We talk about it a lot, but Jahmyr Gibbs is starting to develop as a home run hitter consistently game after game, another 100-yard game for him with a touchdown. You look at Sam Laporta getting involved on National Tight End Day. You talked about the touchdown. Jared Goff threw for 85 yards, but he's still efficient, 12 of 15, 3 touchdown passes, and they just did not need a lot from him today. They made plays on defense. They had multiple interceptions. Kirby Joseph had an interception, and when they play like this, it's going to be really tough. They're going to be a tough team to beat, but they've had 5 straight wins. They play another tough divisional game, and if we know anything about the NFL, divisional games are totally different than anything else. People don't understand it, but then you got to watch games like the Patriots versus the Jets today. Divisional games are different. You look at the Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore looked like world beaters, 5-2, just running shop over everybody. They lost to Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Browns looked really good. Their defense looked good. Jameis pushing the ball down the field. They trade away Amari Cooper and somehow look better than they did with Amari Cooper. They lose their $50 million quarterback and somehow start to be more productive on offense. And so that's how unpredictable the NFL is this year. But the Detroit Lions have been consistent as any team, and like you said, they look really good on both sides of the ball. Well coached. They got they got great players in the place you need. Great players, good receiver, good run game, solid defense on the verge of being a really good defense. So we'll see. This Green Bay game will be a good litmus test, but they passed the test against Minnesota, so we'll see.
This is going to be a huge game on the road in Lambeau, but the game today was a very unique one in the sense, my brother's flying home from LA, 10-year anniversary. Him and his wife are out there. He texted me that he's not watching the game. He's like, what in the world is going on with Detroit? I'm watching them on Gamecast, and I got no explanation for how they're scoring so many points. In the third quarter, Richard, Jared Goff had 28 passing yards total throughout the entire game in the third quarter. The Detroit Lions have 42 points on the board. I don't know how in the world that's happened, but I mean, Detroit was starting in Tennessee's 25, 30-yard line every time. They had over 200 return yards. This was a special team game. Khalif Raymond going off. But Jared Goff, I mean, this guy is firmly in the MVP conversation. Has the highest completion percentage and passing rating in a 5-game span in NFL history, Richard. I mean, the Detroit Lions, I know it was the Titans, but look out. I love this team right now. The momentum is great. Lambeau's going to be a great test for them.